Today we're here to discuss Alf Wight, better known to the world as James Herriot, and I'm joined by his son, Jim Wight, who has written extensively about his father's life and legacy. We're here to explore the man behind the beloved stories. Jim, thanks so much for speaking to me today.
Pleasure.
We've all heard of James Herriot. Can you perhaps make a start by telling us your first memory about your father?
Well, I have loads of memories about my father. Yes, he was a very good father, of course. He was very, very good. Even though he was working very hard as a vet, he always had time for his kids. I remember that from a very early age. He always found time for us. His spare time was spent with us. And when he became famous later on, many, many, many years later, we never regarded him as James Herriot. He wasn't James Herriot the vet, he was Alf Wight the father.
Yeah.
I was very fortunate to have parents like my mother and father. And my sister Rosie feels just the same.
Good, yeah. How would you describe him?
The number one thing about my father that I remember is a completely and entirely an honest man. He was as straight as an arrow. And a very compassionate man. He always used to say to us, if you want to be a successful vet, you know, it's not what you do so much as how you do it. And when he dealt with his small animals, for instance, he always was compassionate. And the customer felt that it was the welfare of the animal that was more important than the profit he was going to make.
Right.
Because he was never a greedy man. Even when he made a lot of money as James Herriot, paying under the government at the time 83% tax, 98% on investment income. I used to say, why don't you go abroad, Dad, like all these other authors? He was the only author left.
Yeah.
Why don't you go abroad? You can save hundreds of thousands. Because his sales are so stratospheric in the United States. He said, how much do you want? I'd rather stay at home.
That's an indication of
His priorities were his family, his dogs, his business, his football team. You know, this was the thing. He got his priorities right.
Yeah, good. So, football, Sunderland.
Sunderland football.
So he's got a Scottish accent, but he's from Sunderland. Tell us about that. Yeah.
When he moved to Glasgow and he was 3 weeks old, he was moved to Glasgow when he was 3 weeks old. And he grew up in the city of Glasgow. So he had a great love for the city until the day he died. But his affiliation, of course, was to Sunderland Football Club. Even as a young boy in school in Glasgow, when you see his diaries, it was all about Sunderland Football Club, Sunderland Football Club.
Influenced, no doubt, by his mum and dad, was it?
Oh yes, his father was a fanatic as well. Yeah. And his father worked in the shipyards in Glasgow, and he was also a professional musician. It was a strange combination.
Yeah.
He ran his own little orchestra.
Did he play in cinemas?
He did, yes. Yes. The silent movies. Silent movies. You know, dum 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 dum. And then in 1928, I think it was around then, that the sound came on the movies. And even then he wasn't out of work because they had intervals.
Yeah, so they played the piano.
And he plays, his little orchestra would play during these intervals. So a most interesting man. My father was very close to him.
One of the things I've seen on the stories and in the TV series is you as a young boy going out with your father on errands to farms and so on. When do you become first aware of your father's job as a vet?
From the age of 3.
3?
I would say about the age of 3, I was going around in the cars with him. By the time I was 5, I reckoned I was a fully qualified vet. I'd seen it all. And I do remember my memories of going around with him then were in cars with no heaters and suffering agonies of cold, as young kids would do in a car, you know. And he used to say, wiggle your toes in your wellies, Jim, you know, wiggle your toes. And yes, but happy memories going around the farms with him. And I carried on right through my school days going around the farms with him. And he was a good vet. He was good to watch. I wanted a job like his. And I never thought of becoming anything else but a vet.
Right.
Which says a lot for him, really.
It does, yeah. What about your sister, Rosie?
She wanted to be a vet as well. And my father put her off. He said to her, I remember, it's no job for a woman, Rosie. Now, nowadays, about 85% of graduates coming out of university are girls. So he was wrong. The girls are very, very good. They make very good vets. But of course, in those days, it was a rough and tumble practice that Rosie was watching. Big, rough cows, big, rough bulls. And my dad didn't fancy his daughter being kicked and rolled on by big animals.
Right.
Now, the profession, of course, is very much largely small animal. And of course, there's a lot of young girls now going in to be vets.
Yeah.
And they do very well. They are very, very good.
Rosie went on to be a GP.
Rosie went on to be a GP. She had no regrets at all. None.
So many people know James Herriot as the writer, but tell us more about the vet, the man. He didn't start writing until he was, in his early 50s?
Well, it was around his silver wedding that he was telling my mother a little story, and he said, it's interesting, I think I might put that into a book. And she said to him, a book? You've been talking about writing a book for 25 years, and you haven't even put pen to paper. And that needled him, and he got started properly. And that was it, he was away then. And he had a lot of rejections on the way. It wasn't a simple thing, and he started writing about things like football, golf, countryside. And these things were already rejected.
Right.
And then he suddenly thought, hey, I should write about something that I know, that I'm an expert on, veterinary practice.
Yeah.
And that's when he started his breakthrough. He wrote about veterinary practice. But then he wrote it as a novel. And a very helpful reader, he was refused by big publishers, Collins. And this lady said to him, why have you written this book as a novel? What you're writing about is obviously something that's happened. Put it into the first person, make it a biography.
Right.
And that was good news. And he had the breakthrough. By 1970, he had the breakthrough. But I do remember very, very well, John, and I was working in the practice in 1967. That's when he was trying to get his book published. Still, nobody would accept it. And I thought at the time he was exhibiting qualities that you need to be a success in life: determination and self-belief.
Yeah.
He was determined not to give up. And secondly, he honestly thought his book wouldn't become a worldwide bestseller or anything, but he thought his book was good enough to be published.
Yes.
And there were two qualities that I never forgot. As I was working out, I just qualified as a young vet. And I thought, well, he's exhibiting some great qualities there.
You were admiring for that?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Yeah.
When did you realise the first book had become a global success then? What was that sort of recognition?
Well, his first book was published in April 1970, and it sold quite well, reasonably well, not a huge success. But it was when the Americans got hold of it.
Yeah.
And a guy called Tom McCormack from St. Martin's Press in New York, he read this and he thought, my goodness me, this is terrific. And by that time, my father was halfway through writing his second book, and the Americans said, combine the two into one, because the first little book was called If Only They Could Talk, and the second one that he wrote, he called It Shouldn't Happen to a Vet. He put them both together. The Americans said, call it All Creatures Great and Small.
So that's where
that's where the word All Creatures Great and Small came.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was a pivotal time then for that.
Oh, it was great. It was very, very pivotal.
Yeah.
And he was an overnight success, almost. He was published in the end of 1972, and by the beginning of 1973, he was top of the New York Times bestsellers, and he stayed there for months and months on end.
Millions of books were sold.
Oh, he sold millions, huge sales. You know, he always liked the Americans.
Did he?
Yeah. Dad, yes. But actually, as his stratospheric sales continued, his affection for them deepened, you know.
Yeah.
You made an absolute fortune over there.
Yes.
And that's when he was paying 83% tax. So he could have made one heck of a hike more.
I saw a video of him giving a small speech, which he didn't do very often. He liked to be private, didn't he?
Very much. He was very much a private man. He eventually had to succumb to all this fame, of course. But he was a very private man, and he didn't change his. For instance, he didn't buy a huge fancy new car and move into a great big house and this sort of thing. He stayed as Alf Wight.
Yes.
Not as James Herriot. Drank in the same pubs with the same mates, you know.
Yeah.
And he was respected by the local people for that.
Now the books were very humorous. And they've got a lot of qualities, but humour is definitely threads right through them. Was his humour the same at home?
Oh yes, yes. He had a very acute sense of humour, my father. One of his favourite authors was P.G. Wodehouse. There was a lot of humour in these books, you know, and it was the humour that I noticed when I first read his books. It was the way that he wrote them that was so appealing and so humorous. In fact, when he had lunch with the Queen back in 1980, she told him that his books were the only ones that made her repeatedly laugh out loud.
That's an accolade.
It is, really. Right. Yeah, it's incredible, really. Yeah.
That was when he was receiving his OBE, was it?
He received his OBE, yes. I remember saying to him, an OBE, Dad, my God, this is terrific. I was congratulating him on his achievement to get the OBE back in 1979. And I said, it'll be the contributions to literature, Dad, eh? He says, no, not a chance. He says, contributions to Her Majesty's Treasury, all the tax I've paid. A very, very modest fella.
Yes, I think he said once that he watched the money flow past him on the way to the Treasury.
He used to give it a wave as it went past, yes.
What is a particular memory that makes you smile about him?
That's a difficult one to answer, really, John, because there's so many things that make me smile. His sort of sense of humour, he had that sort of quiet, quiet sense of humour, delicate sense of humour. But I remember coming back one time from holiday, and so many people wanted their books signed that they used to jam up the waiting room in the veterinary practice. So what he did, he funneled them all into Wednesdays and Friday afternoons. And it was one Wednesday afternoon, and I was going down the corridor, and I'd forgotten about this. I didn't know about this system. And I heard this waiting room. What a noise in the waiting room. I said, God, listen to that waiting room, Dad. It's absolutely buzzing. We're going to do some big business today.
Yeah.
Wow. There must be dogs and cats galore in there. He put his nose in the doorway and came back out again. He said, don't get too excited. I've just counted 2 hamsters, a Jack Russell, and 45 Americans.
But he liked them.
Oh, he liked the Americans.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, he liked the Americans.
How accurate were his portrayals of everything? I mean, he had to have his own name as a pseudonym, as a pseudonym.
Well, he had to have a pseudonym because in those days, it's not true now, but in those days you couldn't use your name because it was construed as advertising. And indeed, you could be struck off the register of the Royal College of Veterinary Surgeons. So he had to find a pseudonym.
Serious stuff, yeah.
And he found one, of course. And eventually he found one because every time he thought of a name, before his little first book was published, he looked in the veterinary register, there was a vet by that name. Because there's tens of thousands of us, you know. And he was getting desperate. And one night he's watching Birmingham City play Manchester United, and in goal for Birmingham City is Jim Herriot, the goalkeeper. That's a good name. So he looked up and there was no Herriot.
No Herriot, yeah.
There was no vets called Herriot. And you know, it's an amazing thing because people think there's a deep-seated meaning behind this, you know. In fact, well, one American said, gee, my Uncle Humphrey was called Herriot, you know, maybe we're related, huh? No, I'm sorry, not a chance.
Not unless his name was Wight.
Yeah.
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 Those portrayals of people, I mean, you've said he made everyone laugh with his stories, but what about the people he was writing about? What tell us about some of the, things that people would react to his stories? I mean, were they welcoming, or were they?
Well, he was always very worried, because he was very, as I said to start with, he didn't like to upset people. He's a very compassionate, understanding man, and that's why he changed people's names.
Okay.
And he'd make a character. For instance, a character could be a conglomerate of several other characters, or in some cases, he would change the sex of a person. To put them right off, so that nobody understood. But the interesting thing was, one or two people did recognise themselves, and they were quite pleased to be in his books.
Right.
So he misjudged things badly there. In fact, an old man called Mr. Smedley of Coxwold, I remember him very well, old lame man, came in, and he used to come in with a stick, and he was waving a stick at my dad, saying, "I've not been in any of your books yet. What am I doing in one of your books?" So they got it the wrong way around. But there's not many of them did recognise themselves, because he did make them into a mixture of characters.
Right.
Not all the time. Not all the time.
So which ones were the most closest to their real life then, would you say?
Well, probably Mrs. Pumphrey,
I
would say, with her pet Pekingese, Tricky Woo.
So Mrs. Pumphrey in real life was
a lady called Marjorie Warner, and she recognised herself, and she didn't mind. This was okay.
Yeah.
She was portrayed as a very loving dog owner,
Yeah.
In fact, would have very sorry when her little dog, real name Bambi, died, because whenever he went on holiday, Bambi used to send us food hampers full of stuff from places like was Harrods and Fortnum and Mason and all these things. And we used to open these food parcels, and there was things like smoked salmon, caviar, real caviar.
Right.
Pâté de foie, smoked ham, smoked mussels.
Wow.
Smoked salmon. Oh, God. Anyway, my dad thought, right, this is great, because he didn't have any money that much.
Sure.
So these are foods we only read about. When he got these food habits, he thought, I'm going to send some thank you letters. So he sent a thank you letter to Miss Warner to thank her for this thing. Anyway, Miss Warner said, it wasn't me, it was Bambi that sent it, see. So. And Bambi was very upset. So I thought, right, I can't be losing these hampers. So then he wrote to Bambi.
So that she...
Yes, and she said, Bambi was very pleased to receive your letter. But he was a little bit miffed. And my dad said, why? I said, well, it was addressed to Master Bambi Warner. But of course, it should have been Bambi Warner Esquire. So my dad went back to the drawing board again. He wasn't going to give up these hampers.
No.
So he sent it to Bambi Warner, Master Bambi Warner, Bambi Warner Esquire, and that was it. He was okay. Hampers returned.
They carried on.
Yeah, and we were very, very upset when that little dog died, I can tell you.
I bet, yeah. You can see where the characterisation, though, for Mrs. Pumphrey comes from. But just for that real life story, yeah.
Well, she was, of course, very much a true. I remember saying to my father one day, when chicken was chicken in those days was a delicacy.
Right.
Beef was cheaper, but chicken, oh, gosh. And she said, Bambi's so tired of chicken, Mr. Wight, so tired.
Oh, what a character she was.
Oh, she was.
Yeah.
A decent woman.
Well, you became a vet yourself from an early age, by the sounds of it, from what you've said earlier. When you were coming towards that time of looking at starting work, was it you said it was one thing you wanted to do. You always wanted to do it, yeah. Mm. That started with your accompanying him on visits and living in a veterinary surgery. Yes. Yeah.
It was, of course, it was so different to today, in that when I started, our practice was, I would say, 80 to 85% farm work, agricultural work.
Yeah.
And the small animal was a sideline.
Right.
It's the other way around now.
Yeah, it's mostly small animal.
Very much more small animal rather than this other work. And when I started, we had about 80 or 90 dairy herds in the practice. And now the area just has 2.
Really, that's a big difference.
That's a huge difference.
Yeah.
And it was, I remember in those small family farms that my dad used to visit, a man milking 20 cows could make a good living.
Yeah.
Now, you've got to make about 200
Yeah.
to make a half-decent living.
Again, a different.
So it's a totally different thing. The practice has changed out of all recognition.
So people came with their small animals to the practice, and
Yeah.
at the World of James Herriot, the dining room is set out in the first room as you come into the surgery. That was the waiting room.
The waiting room was the one opposite. That was the waiting room.
Yes.
But what you see when you go into the World of James Herriot, you see a building that figures as a veterinary practice and a family home rolled into one. This can't happen now.
That's a big difference, isn't it?
Because there was hardly any small animal work.
Yeah.
So we didn't really need a waiting room in the very early days. We didn't need a kennels. We didn't need an operating theatre. So it's just history. It's totally different.
Yeah. And the stories are really based on a time when that situation was more prevalent, and before antibiotics and that sort of thing. So there were lots of different things.
Oh yes, you're making up. All the vets are making up their own medicines.
Were they?
And I remember when I was a boy, my dad mixing his own mixtures.
Yeah.
Mixtures for bloat, mixtures for scour, which is diarrhea in calves and this sort of thing, and a husk mixture they used to get this disease called husk out at pasture, which has been revolutionised by the introduction of a vaccine.
Right.
In the modern days. And castor oil. There was always loads of castor oil. And the farmers used to call it opening medicine. You know, my dad's. Because the worst thing could happen to an animal was a stoppage.
Right.
You know, a stoppage. And of course, they were right. There's nothing worse for an animal or a person to have a stoppage.
Yes.
I remember a little old lady coming to see me, and she had a little cat, and I felt this poor little cat. There was horrible cancer inside it, you know. And she was clutching at straws. I said, I'm terribly sorry, but there's something not very nice in there. What are his chances? She said, well, because she said, you know, his bowels is open, you know. His bowels is open.
Right. Yeah.
And the poor little woman thought the important thing was, if his bowels is open, he's all right, you know.
So there must have been some fun times with all the stories we've read and seen on TV.
Oh yes.
So what about sad times? What about things that were like losing animals? You know, that kind of thing. How did that work out with?
I think one of the most difficult things a vet, and then one of the most important things a vet today, as in the past, is dealing with euthanizing people's pets. It's got to be done very, very carefully and very sympathetically. And my dad was good at that. You know, he understood. Being a dog owner himself, of course, has helped too. Yeah. And having lost dogs himself. And it was the same with me. I was putting animals to sleep, and I knew what it was like to lose a pet.
Yes.
It's no fun at all.
Yeah.
Funnily enough, Donald Sinclair, my father's partner, gave me some of the best advice he ever gave me. He said, because he used to go to people's houses to put a dog to sleep.
Right.
And sometimes it could be a rodeo, you know, trying to find a vein.
Oh.
You know, with a dog. And honestly, there's nothing worse than that.
No.
And Donald used to say, give the dog a big dose, racehorse per size of sedative. Then have a cup of tea, by which time your little pet, it'll be asleep.
Then you can do...
And then you can very quietly and gently put that pet to sleep.
Yeah.
That was the best advice Donald, my senior partner, ever gave me.
Now let's talk about Donald, because he's a big character in real life and in the stories. What was it like working with him and Brian, his brother, or Tristan?
Well, I never worked with Brian, of course.
No.
But I worked with Donald. Donald Sinclair, who was, of course, immortalised as Siegfried in these television series, and as in the books, of course. He was the funniest man I've ever known in my life. And he was funny because he didn't think he was funny. And my father used to say he's a true character because he doesn't think he is.
Doesn't know it.
He had no self-awareness. In fact, he used to say to me, you're an interesting man, Donald. What do you mean I'm an interesting man? Do you think I'm sort of eccentric or something? What do you mean? So that was what... That was
be offended by that.
Yeah. So Yes, he was my father and Donald, even though he was almost impossible to work with, he's so eccentric. But they remained friends until they died, until they passed away. Donald passed away very shortly after my father did. And he was a man of, well, I could write a whole book about Donald Sinclair, really. He was explosive. He was generous. He was amusing without meaning to be amusing. And he had no patience at all. And if you kept Donald Sinclair on the phone for more than 10, 11 seconds, you were doing very, very well. And this went down badly with some of the clients, you know. The farmer would ring up, he'd say, hello, and then they'd, right, we'll come out, he'd say, we'll come out. And then put the phone down. But what the farmer wanted to say, when you come out, bring me some tablets or something.
Yeah.
And of course, we'd go out to the farm, and of course, there was no tablets at all because Donald had put the phone down so quickly.
Didn't know that he did.
And you know, the funny thing was, I never forget his impatience. He's never stayed on the phone for long, but when he rang me after my father died in 1995. Donald was really upset because, you know, they were close friends. And to be quite honest, my father did, in many ways, supported Donald a lot in those times. And he rang me up a week later. And I picked the phone up. I said, Jim, hello, Donald. He said, I'm fed up about your dad. And I said, oh, thanks. Oh, thank you, Donald. Donald.
That was it.
Gone. Those few words, I knew exactly what he meant. I'm fed up about your dad.
Yeah. Yeah. You got the feeling and the
oh yeah,
in that very short sentence. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, I could, as I say, we haven't got the time in it to tell you all these funny stories there can be about Donald, though. But you know, there are so many that he regards as normal.
Yes, there must be stories that aren't in the stories that you could.
Oh goodness me, yes. See, my father, being a very compassionate, understanding man, he painted Siegfried as a really great character. But Donald didn't approve of it because my dad said Donald didn't approve of anything. You know, recommended a restaurant for Donald because he'd go there and Dad would say, "Did you like it?" He said, "No, I didn't enjoy it at all." You know.
Yes. I remember you telling me a story about him when the first book was published, and you were celebrating.
Yes.
And wasn't there a disapproving moment with Donald?
Oh yes, Donald disapproved of his portrayal.
Yes.
Of Siegfried, which I thought he was a great character. But funnily enough, despite the fact he disapproved, whenever visitors used to come, tourists come to the surgery to see James Herriot, Donald would give them a guided tour of the practice. This is a man who disapproved of his portrayal.
So he started.
And I have a book. The very first copy, one of the first editions of If Only They Could Talk, which is my dad's first book. Inside it is Donald's scribbly writing, and it says, "To Alfred, with best wishes from Donald." Alfred wrote the bloody thing. You know, this is just...
That's another insight into his character, isn't it?
So simple.
Yeah.
And one of my favourite recent ones, well, more recent than the first publication dates, is he was distributing sardines everywhere. I've told you that, haven't I? No.
Tell me again.
It's not the sardines. Well, Donald loves sardines. Now, I like sardines. I might go to the supermarket and buy a couple of tins. Not Donald, no. He would buy them in bulk. Maybe about 50 or 60 tins at a time. In bulk. And he'd take them home. And he gave me a couple of tins. There you are, Jim. I said, "Thank you, Donald." He said, "Now, don't forget to turn them." I said, "I beg your pardon." "You must turn them. Distribute the oil evenly over the fish."
Right.
I said, "How often do you do that, Donald?" "Oh, about every 2 or 3 weeks."
Right.
Oh, right. And funnily enough, a month or two later, I rang because he was very good with horses, and I wanted some advice on a horse I was treating. And I rang his home, and his wife, Audrey, was very, very Queen's English. And, "Jim, can I help you?" I said, "Can I speak to Donald, Audrey? I've got a difficult case with the horse." "Jim, you caught him at an inopportune moment. He's turning his sardines."
Right.
I should have known better. You never interrupt a man when he's turning his sardines, do you?
Oh dear, gosh.
No, but I mean, you can go on and on with Donald. But fundamentally, He was a decent man.
Yes. Yeah.
He was an impossible man in many, many ways to work with. But he was a decent man.
That's good. He
I
comes.
think that's why they stayed friends all the time.
Yeah.
My dad knew, I knew when things were getting difficult for Donald, who refused to retire when he was getting very old. And I was losing a little bit of patience with Donald. And I went mad one morning. I just got so fed up. I went to my dad. When my dad was ill at the time, shortly before he died, actually, I said, how have you worked with this man for all these years? And my exact words were from my father, I knew from the first day I met him that he would never stab anybody in the back. Okay. You got what you saw with him.
Yeah.
And this is important. There was no hidden agendas with Donald.
No. So you're saying there's a real moral compass in place in terms of dealing with people. Your father, Donald.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. There was nothing on the hand about either man.
No.
They were both fundamentally honest men.
Yeah.
And I was privileged to have them as bosses.
Sure.
In fact, one of the things about my father was, which hasn't been, well, it isn't obviously mentioned in the books, he was great with new graduates that came out of university. Their first job, their experiences in their first job as vets can colour them for the rest of their lives.
Yes.
If they get a bad boss who lands them in trouble, or they get a good boss who supports them. My dad was always very supportive of new graduates. He used to say to me, they come full of theoretical knowledge from university. I have got practical knowledge from experience, and we work together.
Somewhere they have to come together.
I know that during York Minster, there were 2,500 people in York Minster for his memorial service.
Yes.
There was a lot of ex-graduates that came to that service, a lot.
So he was really conscious of that need to encourage them and help
Encourage them,
Yeah,
help
yeah.
them, support them.
Yes. Yeah.
And I thought that was one of his great attributes as a vet.
Yeah.
He was a great man to work for.
Yeah. Because he did say he was a vet first and an author second.
He always said that.
Continued throughout his life. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Despite the millions of sales of books.
He told me when his first book came out, he said, I don't want you to tell anybody who James Herriot is.
Right.
Because he said, I want to be known as a vet round here and not as an author. And so my lips were sealed. Absolutely sealed. And a book came out, and within a day or two of publication, somebody came up to me. He said, there's a book written by a vet called James Herriot. And I kept a sphinx-like approach. I said, yeah. Yeah. And then this bloke said, it's your dad, isn't it?
It didn't take long for people to realise.
What? Why, look at it. Siegfried. Who's this fella Siegfried? He's Donald Sinclair. Right. Isn't it? And who's Finn Calvert? He's old Thompson up the road here.
So people
So what happened was he shot himself in the foot. His descriptions of his characters were so accurate and vivid that you couldn't mistake who they were.
Yeah. Even though he changed their name.
So then that was it. The cat was out of the bag then, of course. Yeah.
But he was a very private man, as you say. He preferred to not be in the limelight.
Absolutely. That's why he set his books in the Yorkshire Dales. He wasn't a Dales vet, really.
No.
It all happened around Thirsk.
Yes.
Most of it. 3 or 4% maybe, but experiences that he had in the Dales. That's all. Yeah.
So tell me about the time before the books were published. You were becoming a young vet, I guess, in that period. It was different then, you've said.
Well, yes. I mean, we were just driving around doing maybe up to 20 visits a day.
20?
Yeah, we could do 20 visits a day. I mean, for me, as a young vet, watching these things, as a young boy at primary school, it was terrific. Where are we going next, Dad? Oh, we're going to do a carving. Oh, great. Can I get on the end of a rope and do some pull? Yeah. Where are we going next? Oh, a couple of pigs have been fighting. We'll have to stitch one up. Oh, God, that's interesting.
Right.
So
you were inspired by that.
I was inspired by all this life.
Yeah.
But it was, but what I must remember about my dad, honestly, I've been so much more fortunate than him because he started with nothing. And his life was very much dominated by worry about financial stuff. And when you see the world of James Herriot, where we used to live, My mother was a domestomaniac, as he called her. She used to be scrubbing the kitchen floors, scrubbing the stone tiles. And my dad used to shout at her, "Joan, stop scrubbing those tiles," and she wouldn't stop. And his one track mind was to get his family out of there. Because it was a great, big, huge, completely freezing cold place, you know. And eventually he did manage to get a mortgage, buy a place and got a house built. We moved in 1953. So I lived there for 10 years, or 8 or 10 years. And he got his family out of the place eventually.
Yeah.
But that was his one-track mind, because he used to go around the farms, and the farms had wonderful kitchens in the old days. They had these big black ranges.
Yes.
And in the really cold winters, and of course the winters then were really cold, the Yorkshire winters then, and I remember them as a small boy running around in 23 Kirkgate. My dad wanted a kitchen like the farmers.
Like the farmers. Yeah.
Everybody was in the kitchen. Pigs, lambs, dogs, cats.
It was the place to be.
It was the place to be. And he wanted a nice big kitchen. And he got eventually when we got a new house, he got an Aga, you know.
Yeah.
But I remember as a small boy, it was so cold, I was shivering, and he looked at me, and I would be about 5 or 6. And he said, "Are you cold, Jimmy?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Well, run." And that's in your own house. How do you keep warm? You run. Because there's plenty of corridors there, as you know.
That's right, yeah.
All of them with howling gales down them. So,
But you lived on the top floor, I think.
we lived on the top floor.
Yes, and there was just one phone.
One floor on the ground and the bottom floor.
Yeah. So an emergency call at night, there would be.
I look back and I think, well, could I do what I used to do when I was young, getting out of bed in the middle of the night to go and see cows calving, this sort of thing? Well, I don't think I could, no. But when I look back, it was nothing like as bad as my father's day.
No.
You know, getting stripped off in a freezing cold house, going to a car, they got to start with a starting handle, and drive up into the Yorkshire Dales to do tuberculin testing 20, 25, 30 miles away in a car with no heater, a car with no brakes. I mean, no brakes, bald tyres, holes in the floor, and arrive stupefied with cold. That was his day, his age. Stupid, and start testing cows.
Yes, yeah.
And I asked him, "Why did you do it, Dad?" And his words to me were, I don't know why I remember this, he said, "I was glad to be alive." He was getting a little bit of security. Donald was giving him a bit of security.
Yes, yeah.
And he was earning a bit of money.
Yes.
Because rather than pay him, my dad said to him, "You'll get a share of the profits from tuberculin testing," which was quite good.
Oh, I see, right.
And so that was a godsend to him, really.
He went on to be appointed by the government, wasn't it, for testing?
Oh yes, we all had to get appointed by as ministry, the Ministry of Agriculture, MAF
at the time, yeah.
Yes, and that was tuberculin testing, which is a great income for country practices, and they were very good. They were very good payers, of course, the government.
Yes.
We got paid on the nail. We didn't always get paid on the nail.
No. It's often
these old farmers, you know, it was all, how much?
Oh. Yeah, quite. Yeah, very Yorkshire, as you would say. Yeah, yeah.
In fact, there was an old farmer up near Ampleforth. Honestly, I'll never forget him, because my dad did a caesarean section on a heifer.
Right.
A little heifer, and took a calf out of the side.
God.
A man called Mr. Tuke. And this little man watched this operation, and he couldn't believe what he was seeing. It was fantastic. Anyway, a fortnight later, my dad went back to take the stitches out, and the heifer had done very well. The heifer was there. She was fine. A lovely fat calf jumping about. Mr. Tuke was obviously deeply, deeply impressed. Anyway, my father cleaned his wellies. As he was leaving, Mr. Tuke knocked on the car window. My dad wound the window down. Mr. Tuke said, "Don't be our heavy with pencil." He was worried. He was a worried man.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, I do remember one passage about the, I think it's in your book, The Real James Herriot, about you say the advice from Donald was always do something.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. They were the great advice from Donald and my dad.
Yeah.
Always do something. Because if you do nothing and it gets better, you get no credit.
Yes.
Yeah. Always give it a name. I don't know what the name is. Give it a name.
Right.
And of course, it's not what you do, it's the way that you do it. And also Donald said, never say anything is going to get better. Always paint a black picture.
Right. So there's a...
Because if you say it's going to die and it dies, you said it was going to die anyway. If it lives, you're a hero.
Right, right.
That was his idea.
So you're a psychologist as well? Veterinarian.
Do you know, they're all old-fashioned, but there's a touch of I don't know, just a touch of truth about these things. You know, just a smidgen.
Yeah.
You know, the worst thing you can do is, in the old days, the funny old farmers, you know, the farmers are far more educated now and far more au fait with disease.
Yeah.
But if you say to the old farmer, oh, I think she'll be better in a couple of days, and she's not. And they come into the surgery, you said it was going to
You said, yes, yeah. Yeah. There's a scene in one of the recent series of a farmer in the queue at the cinema, and your father's depicted being in the queue and the farmer's having a go at him in the queue, and then he's watching the cinema later and he's still having a go at him in the cinema. That kind of thing would go on for real, would it?
That's one of my favourite chapters. I love that chapter.
Yeah.
Yes.
He's not going to let...
I think the way James Herriot described the cinema as it was, there's a clock on the wall which stood resolutely at 4:20. And the whole place smelled of old sofas. You can imagine it.
Yes, yeah.
That was what it was like, the cinema in first. Yeah. I think one of the main strengths of James Herriot, of my father, is the way that he sets the scene. You know, the way he describes these things.
Yes, yeah. It's
very clever, the way he writes. And he uses simple words to describe things, words that aren't difficult to understand.
Yeah.
But they're all in the right place, you know? Yeah.
So moving forward to the books starting to be published, the volumes going up, especially the American market becoming the boom, as it were. I mean, that's when the TV... well, first of all, there were 2 movies, weren't there? Before the TV series was made.
There were.
In fact, we've got this picture here of, I think, some of the cast.
Oh, yeah.
That
was the first one, where there was Simon Ward, who played James Herriot.
Yes.
And Anthony Hopkins, now Sir Anthony Hopkins, he played Siegfried.
Yes.
And Brian Sterner played Tristan.
Yes.
Yes. And now, actually, Anthony Hopkins, I thought, made a superb Siegfried.
That was the first...
Simon Ward is good too. The others were good.
Yes. Tell us about that happening. I mean, the TV or the film crews arriving, that kind of thing. Were you remember much about that?
I didn't go. I went to see them filming once. They filmed it up in the North York Moors, funnily enough, which I thought was strange because my dad had set his books in the Dales.
Yes, yeah.
But I was yes, I didn't see much. I didn't see much of them really.
No.
But it was I thought it was a very successful little film. It was a good little. They still see it. You can still see it on. It keeps cropping up now.
See it online, can't you? Somewhere.
Yeah. I thought Siegfried being played by Anthony Hopkins was very good. I'm sorry, but I can't remember a great deal about that first film. But I do remember it affected my dad very much because. He said, this is incredible. He said, you know, because he couldn't believe his success.
Yes.
That was the thing. He could not believe his success. He said, do you know they're going to make a film of one of my books?
Right.
There's going to be somebody, Simon Ward, who just played one young Winston.
Yeah. And
he's playing me. And Anthony Hopkins playing Siegfried.
I
can't believe it.
So that's, quite a...
He said, I'm going to tell Simon Ward, honestly, you've played 2 famous people. So Winston Churchill and me.
Nice to rub his shoulders with such important personalities. Yeah.
And then, of course, there's another one came out in 1976.
Yes.
That was with It Shouldn't Happen to a Vet, and that was up in Swaledale. It was set.
Yeah, mostly in the Richmondshire area, wasn't it?
That's right. And it was very good with John Alderton playing my father.
Yes. Yeah.
And that was a successful one. But then, of course, the TV series came in, and my dad's books are more suited to the TV in that they're episodic.
Yes, like a chapter in a book.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that was a tremendous breakthrough, and that's when he became really, well, in this country certainly, well, I would say globally, he became world famous.
Well, he won an award, didn't he, from the British Tourist Authorities, it was at the time. I mean, I think you mentioned it.
I've lost track of all the awards that my dad's won.
March 1984, received a British Tourist Authority Award for helping to create a greater awareness throughout the world of Britain's attractions.
Yes.
And at a ceremony in London, Sir Henry Marking, the BTA chairman, said, "The name of James Herriot seems to leap out from every bookstall and every TV screen in the world."
Yeah.
I'm sure James Herriot never thought of himself as a travel promoter, but Herriot Country is now well and truly established on the international tourist map. Well, that continues to today, doesn't it?
No, it does.
Yeah.
He's done a huge amount for tourism, not just in Yorkshire, nationally and internationally.
Yeah.
But he's done a huge amount. And, you know, he was never a greedy man, as you probably realise. But he did say to me, when he got this award, he said, "I'm very proud that I'm putting a few bob into some other people's pockets that deserve it."
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
which he certainly has done. And I've always said he's the catalyst for people coming to Thirsk,
Yes.
to North Yorkshire. When people come and see James Herriot, I say to them, hey, it isn't James Herriot, just you can see here, we're sandwiched between two brilliant national parks.
Absolutely, yeah.
There's interesting places, interesting houses, interesting monuments, interesting coastline, fantastic restaurants,
Yeah,
the best beer that's going, you know.
of course.
It's all great.
So what did your father think of the series then, the TV series? Did he watch it?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, he watched it. And, of course, being alive, he could dictate. They follow his books fairly closely.
So he was quite involved in the
He was
production.
not terribly involved. There had to be a veterinary advisor,
Yeah.
and that was a chap called Jack Watkinson from Leyburn, who my dad knew well. Mm-hmm. And he was the veterinary advisor. He lived up in that area. And he was very good as a veterinarian. My dad didn't want that. He kept a low profile.
Yeah.
And he let Jack do a lot of this stuff. Teaching, well, Christopher Timothy was playing my father. Jack Watkinson telling Christopher Timothy to strip off and get his hand up a cow's backside, you know, how you do it. Make it look professional. It's got to be done the right way, you know.
Yes. Yeah. Well, that's certainly the one thing that everyone remembers, isn't it?
Oh,
Yeah. I mean, the most popular attraction.
well, as Donald Sinclair used to say to me, there's a lot to be learned up a cow's backside, Jim. And there is. Because, you know, one of the most important things for a dairy farmer is to get his cows in calf. Because if they're not in calf, they don't milk.
Yeah.
And if they don't milk, he's out of business.
Right.
And up when you put your hand up a cow's backside, below, you can feel all the ovaries and etc. of the cows and the uterus. You can feel the cow's ovaries and see and help the farmer to get that cow in calf.
Gosh, yeah.
So it was a very, very skillful thing.
Yeah.
I miss it, you know.
Well, certainly the most popular exhibit at the World of James Herriot is the one where people can pull the calves up from inside the back of the cow.
But on a cold winter's day, it was a lot, you know, you spent your time up there and it's so warm on a cold winter's day. God.
Oh, yeah.
And it became very skillful. We used to try and see who could detect it at the earliest stage. I got down to being able to do it at about 4 to 5 weeks.
Really?
Pregnancy. I could tell them if that cow was pregnant or not.
Right.
And if it isn't, you've got to do something about it. And you could do things with the ovaries and help the cow get in calf.
Right.
So yeah, there's a lot to this business, and
I don't suppose modern vets these days would do that anymore.
I think they've got their own ultrasounds and all those sort of things.
Other ways of doing it, yeah. Jim, the new series, is that story or detail in that new series, is the adaptation, do you feel it's close to real life? What do you think of the actors?
Well, I think what they do, they capture the ethos of James Herriot's work. You know, the hard-working, caring vet, you know. And I think the acting is terrific. Nick Raff playing James Herriot, Sam West playing Siegfried, and Callum Woodhouse, and Rachel Shenton, Anna Madeley, these top people. They all acted superbly. It's really well directed. It doesn't follow my father's stories doggedly at all. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the stuff is made up. But it's good. And it's tremendously popular.
Yeah.
And it's a great success. So, yes, we like it.
Good. Well, Jim, thank you so much for your time and
Well, it's a pleasure.
and discussion today. It's been really excellent to chat through this with you.
Okay,
We'll
pleasure.
come back and do this again soon.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Hey, John.